Ethan was a single father, worn down by long shifts at the mechanic shop but fueled each day by the laughter of his little daughter, Lily. Their tiny apartment had peeling paint and second-hand furniture, yet it was filled with warmth, bedtime stories, and the kind of love money couldn't buy. Life was never easy, but Ethan carried every burden with quiet strength, determined to give Lily a future brighter than his own. One cold and rainy evening, as Ethan walked home from work, he spotted someone sitting at the bus stop. A young woman, drenched, shivering, and clutching nothing but a worn backpack, sat under the flickering streetlight. Her face looked pale and uncertain, her eyes filled with exhaustion. Ethan paused, debating with himself. He had little, barely enough for him and Lily. But something in the girl's trembling hands and lost expression struck his heart. "Are you all right?" he asked gently, pulling his jacket tighter against the wind. The young woman, Sophie, hesitated before whispering that she had nowhere to go. No money, no family nearby, and no place to stay. Ethan could have walked away. Most people would have. But instead, he offered her his umbrella and said, "Come with me. My place isn't much, but it's warm." That night, the course of their lives quietly began to change. Sophie had no idea that kindness could come from someone with so little, and Ethan had no idea the stranger he was taking in was far more than she appeared. Ethan led Sophie through the dimly lit streets until they reached his small apartment. The building was old, the paint cracked and fading, but the moment Sophie stepped inside, she felt something different, something she hadn't felt in weeks. Warmth. The tiny living room smelled faintly of soup, and a few crayon drawings were taped proudly on the walls. Lily, Ethan's wide-eyed little girl, peeked from behind the couch, curiosity shining on her face. Ethan introduced Sophie gently, assuring his daughter that their guest just needed a safe place for the night. Without hesitation, Lily ran forward, smiling, and offered Sophie her favorite blanket. Sophie blinked back tears at the child's innocent kindness. Ethan heated up the last of their soup and pushed the bowl toward Sophie, pretending he wasn't hungry. She noticed his calloused hands and weary eyes but also the unshakable kindness in his voice. Sophie wanted to protest, to say she'd be fine without food, but the way Ethan and Lily looked at her, with genuine care, broke down her defenses. That night, Sophie lay on the small couch, the soft hum of Lily's laughter from the bedroom lulling her to sleep. She was a stranger in their world, yet they treated her as if she belonged. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel invisible. She didn't feel alone. What Ethan didn't realize was that this small act of compassion would change all their lives in ways none of them could have imagined. The days that followed were not easy, but Sophie quickly became part of their little home. Ethan continued working long hours, sometimes leaving before dawn and returning long after Lily was asleep. His shoes were worn thin, and his hands were always stained with grease, yet he never complained. Sophie watched silently, noticing how he would often give Lily the larger share of food and quietly go without. Sophie tried to help where she could, washing dishes, cooking simple meals, even helping Lily with her schoolwork. Lily adored her, often curling up beside her with bedtime stories. In those moments, Sophie felt something she hadn't felt in years, a sense of family. Still, guilt gnawed at her. Ethan and Lily were struggling, yet they opened their door to her without question. Late one night, Sophie found Ethan sitting at the table, head resting on his arms, fast asleep from exhaustion. A single unpaid bill lay beneath his hand. Her heart ached. She wanted to tell him the truth, that she wasn't just a broke college student, but the daughter of one of the wealthiest men in the city. She had left her father's mansion to prove she could survive on her own. But looking at Ethan, she realized something more valuable than wealth. His quiet sacrifices, his unwavering kindness, meant far more than any fortune. Sophie kept her secret, determined to learn what real strength and love looked like, even as the weight of truth pressed heavily on her heart. One afternoon, while working another double shift, Ethan collapsed at the repair shop. His body, worn down from endless hours and skipped meals, simply gave out. The call came suddenly, and Sophie rushed to the hospital with Lily clinging to her hand, tears streaming down the little girl's face. Seeing Ethan lying pale and weak in the hospital bed shattered something inside Sophie. As she sat beside him, guilt consumed her. Here was a man who had nothing yet gave everything, not just to his daughter, but to her, a stranger. She could no longer keep her secret. With trembling hands, she whispered, "Ethan, there's something you don't know about me." She told him she wasn't just a broke college student. She was the daughter of a powerful millionaire, and she had left her father's world of wealth to live on her own terms. Ethan, still weak, looked at her in disbelief. For a moment, Sophie feared he would push her away for hiding the truth. But instead, he gave a tired smile and said, "Money never mattered to me. What mattered was that you needed help. And if I had to do it all over again, I would." Tears blurred Sophie's vision. No one had ever shown her such selfless love before. In that moment, she realized that Ethan and Lily had given her something far greater than shelter. They had given her a home, a family, and a reminder that true wealth was found in compassion. When Sophie's father learned the truth, that his daughter had been taken in by a struggling single dad who had nothing yet gave everything, he rushed to the hospital. At first, Ethan braced himself, expecting anger or judgment, but instead the man's eyes softened. He had all the money in the world, yet here was someone who showed his daughter more care and humanity than wealth ever had. Deeply moved, Sophie's father offered to support Ethan and Lily, but Ethan hesitated. He wasn't a man who took charity easily. Still, Sophie's gentle voice persuaded him, reminding him that accepting help now wasn't just for himself, but for Lily's future too. With that support, Ethan was finally able to open his own repair shop, creating stability for the little family he had fought so hard to protect. Sophie stayed by their side, no longer hiding who she was. She played with Lily after school, helped Ethan with business paperwork, and reminded them daily that they had given her something no mansion ever could, belonging. One evening, sitting together in their new home, Sophie turned to Ethan with tears in her eyes and said, "You didn't just give me shelter, you gave me a family." Ethan pulled Lily close, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "We didn't have much, but we always had love. That's what made us rich." In that moment, they all realized something timeless. True wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in kindness, sacrifice, and the families we choose to build.